Well, now for a look at the day's top business news, and we will head to Davos, where the World Economic Forum is drawing to a close. France 24's business editor Kate Moody is standing by there. Good morning there, Kate. So what's on the agenda for the final day?
Well, Aaron, the German Chancellor Olaf Scholz will be delivering the closing keynote address in just a few hours. There have been fewer heads of state and government here in Davos than there are usually. That may be partly because this meeting was delayed from January because of the Omicron variant of COVID-19, but also because of the very high stakes context for the geopolitical world at the moment. Since President Zelensky of Ukraine opened the proceedings on Monday, we've heard the same big themes emerging: the war in Ukraine, what to do about Russia, and the future of Europe. EU member states remain very much divided on the question of whether they should stop importing Russian oil. Most EU member states are in favor of it. Hungary, though, remains opposed to it. French and German officials say they're confident they can still overcome that opposition and perhaps reach an agreement in the coming days or weeks. Scholz will almost certainly be talking about that and about how Europe can become less dependent on Russian energy overall. He's just back from a trip from Africa where he said he was keen to pursue projects with the likes of Senegal. Senegal has huge reserves of natural gas and is trying to become a major producer. Even if the European bloc, of course, stops buying Russian oil, remember, it remains very dependent on Russia for natural gas supplies. About 40% of its natural gas comes from Russia. That isn't set to change imminently. France 24's Lynn Rifaille has been speaking to the head of the International Energy Agency about that dependence.
To cut Russian gas from one day to another is very difficult because Europe, in my view, wrongly relied on Russian gas years and years. There is an over-reliance on Russian gas. This is a political mistake. But now getting rid of the Russian gas in a very short period of time will be extremely challenging. But we have to start.
So that was the head of the International Energy Agency speaking to Lynn Rifaille of France 24. So the cost of energy, Kate, then, of course, has been one of the main talking points this week.
Yeah, because even before any kind of embargo comes into effect, oil prices are still very high. International Brent trading at about $115 per barrel today. European natural gas prices have settled slightly, hitting their lowest levels since Russia invaded Ukraine about 3 months ago. But U.S. gas prices are at their highest since 2008. All of that means that energy and petrol bills are incredibly high. It's putting pressure on households and businesses around the world and putting pressure on politicians to do something about it, to help them out a little bit. Demand for energy remains very high. Manufacturing and travel is picking up. There's a hot summer on the cards for both Europe and North America. That means there'll be a lot of air conditioning being run. All of that requires energy. And while demand remains very high, production is not picking up to sort of offset that. It remains very interrupted by the war. Other producers like the OPEC group haven't stepped up to fill that gap. We asked Fatih Birol whether that refusal was a sign of tacit support for Russia, which remains part of the extended OPEC Plus group. Here's what he had to say.
The recent statements we get from the OPEC Plus countries is that they will not change their position. But I still hope that seeing the major economic risks that the world is facing today in oil, natural gas, food prices, and the early signals of some countries in the world may go in the direction of recession, may soften their position, and some responsible move from those countries would definitely be very helpful.
That was Fatih Birol speaking to Lynn Rifaille from our French and Arabic channels. And what we've been hearing from pretty much every business and political leader that we've spoken to here in Davos this week is that same cautious outlook. We're in for higher prices, an economic slowdown, some warning of a recession. Others think it can still be avoided. The COVID lockdowns in China, of course, contributing to that rather gloomy outlook. But certainly a sense of urgency for Europe to reach an agreement to cut out Russian energy and to accelerate the transition to more sustainable energy sources, because the climate crisis does remain very much part of the conversation here. Overall, I have to say, a pretty gloomy sense of what's ahead for both the global economy and the international community as this World Economic Forum of 2022 comes to a close today.
Gloomy indeed, Kate. The forum may be wrapping up, but there are still many challenges, it sounds like, to address. Kate Moody, thank you very much for that update. Well, it's time now